Hello everybody out there in Daily Motion World, this is your good buddy Djclyve, the RANMA 1/2 character profile guy, sounding a bit triumphant, at least as triumphant as I can sound, it being this early in the morning and me being as nasal as I am. Allergy season is upon us and they're hitting me really hard this year. This is the Anything Goes obstacle course race review, something that I've been working on in the back burner for like months now, almost like 5 months, and it was a project that I was starting to think that I would never ever complete. But just lately I just been devoting all my energies to it to get it finished. And I just fired it off on YouTube a couple days ago, and it seems to be doing pretty well. In case you can't tell, this is my crack at doing videos in the style of that guy with the glasses or the nostalgia critic. A lot of people, I mean, he's got a really big following on the internet, and I've been a very big fan for a number of years now of his videos. And this is no way me like ripping him off or poking fun at him. This is just me doing a style parody of sorts, kind of an homage. I am no way, shape, or form trying to rival the Nostalgia Critic. I'm not trying to be him. I only dressed up as him in that one shot just as a quick sight gag. I realized that if I did the entire review dressed up as him, it would seem almost like I was trying to call him out or trying to be him or rival him, and that in no way, shape, or form was what I was after with this review. It was just my way of paying tribute. And what really sucked about that is that I had to grow a goatee just for that one quick cut. And then after that, I shaved it off for the rest of the review. So that was kind of a pain in the ass. But yeah, like I said, I'm not trying to call attention to myself. I realize that that guy is way too big on the internet for me to even be like a blip on his radar. So it's just me having a little bit of fun, and I know there's a lot of people out on the net who probably watch the Nostalgia Critic who are also fans of my stuff, so I thought I, would cater to those fans, and, it's kind of like just throwing pop culture references into everything. It's my version of that. So I'll leave it at that. So, moving on, a lot of people might be wondering, why would I put myself through this again? Why would I go back and watch this horrible episode and re-review it? Because I have covered a lot of these bases already in my top 10 worst episodes list. The fact is that was made during a time where YouTube had really, really strict time restraints on their videos, and I wasn't able to go above 10 minutes, if I remember right, on that video. So once I got to number 1, I had to say, as much as I could in that little window of time, and there was not near enough time to cover all the bases and all the things that were wrong with this episode. So I just had an epiphany one day. I think actually I was having an instant message conversation with a viewer, and they had suggested it to me. So if I forgot about that, I did go back through my inbox, and I was looking to try to find this conversation I had with this viewer, and I couldn't find it. So if I didn't give somebody credit where credit was due, I apologize for that. But yeah, I mean, there was way too much material in this episode. There was way too much to poke fun at, and I just had to go back and do it. And as horrible as this episode is, it's kind of memorable in its own way. You gotta just watch it and poke fun at it, and it's like a train wreck that you can't take your eyes off of. By the way, I should probably stop myself and explain that last sight joke that just happened there. That was my little dig at Matt Frewer. I actually am a fan of his currently. I think the stuff that he does now, I thought he was great in Watchmen. I thought he was awesome in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. But he did go through a phase where he was really trying to be Jim Carrey. And 3 things I could think of in particular: the Disney version of Hercules, Lawnmower Man 2, Job's War, he was definitely Jim Carreying it up in that, and the TV version of X-Men comics, Generation X, he was so trying to be Jim Carrey in all 3 of those things. I just had to throw that out there to wise fans out there who might be following his stuff. But yeah, overall, I mean, I list all the different reasons here. The whole thing with the background characters just freezing, all the stupid disqualifications, and probably the biggest thing that I wasn't able to get into in my last video, that stupid dude in the purple hat, and he was just gratingly, horribly annoying. Just what makes this such a bad episode? The fact that it is so random, I think. It really plays more to Urusei Yatsura's strengths and not Ranma 1/2, and I do believe I mentioned that in my last video as well, that this would have been a great Urusei Yatsura episode, because they did this kind of stuff every episode. But for Ranma 1/2, it's grossly out of place. It really does not belong. You don't want to see Ranma. I mean, just think about what Season 1 was like. Just how slow it was. It was like a soap opera. You could practically do that in live action. And then Season 3 comes around, and they're going to prehistoric times and fighting dinosaurs. And I won't forget, the first time I watched this over a friend's house, and we hadn't seen it yet. We actually rented it from a place that was renting out anime. And we were just kind of staring at each other in disbelief just how bad this show had gotten. And I actually stopped watching after that. After that one season, I watched maybe a few more episodes to the end of Season 3, and I stopped right there. I think the last episode I saw was at a convention where they debuted Principal Kuno. That was the start of Season 4, and just when they changed Ranma's voice. And at that point, I'm saying to myself, wow, this show has really hit rock bottom. I mean, changing Ranma's voice was the clincher. I'm like, all right, I might not be a fan of this anymore. And I stopped watching for a good couple of years, mainly because of this episode. This episode was the catalyst for me not watching. It was actually my wife that got me back into Ranma, because back when we first started dating, we used to just have like these kind of Beavis and Butthead type days where we just kind of like sit around and do nothing all day, and I would just pop in random VHS tapes and we'd watch that, and she kind of got into Ranma with me. And you know, one year for Christmas, she got me all the seasons on DVD, and these were the remaining episodes that I hadn't watched yet. So it was an amazing retread into the series for me to go back there. And I won't forget, I ran marathons night after night after night, just catching up on Ranma and falling back in love with it. This episode was a hiccup along the way, but it regained its footing. So I'm glad to see that. Season 4 definitely corrected a lot of the mistakes of Season 3. Now, would you believe I had to go back and watch this episode about 5 times to make sure that this video was good, like to go back and correct things and, fact check and just make sure I can cram all the jokes in that I could possibly cram in. I had to watch this so many damn times to the point where I could practically memorize it. And that was not my favorite of things that I've had to do for these videos, but a lot of times I have to take a couple bullets to the butt in order to make a good product at the end. But I'm pleased to say that I've grown a little bit of admiration for this episode. Not to say that I'll ever watch it again. What I said at the end of this video was correct. I wouldn't touch this steaming pile again. But, it's not as bad as I initially remembered when I first watched it. I'm a fan of a lot of different shows, and I can think of a bunch of different episodes of those shows that were worse than this. There have been worse episodes of X-Men. There have been worse episodes of Captain N the Game Master, and Transformers in particular, that I would say are worse episodes than this episode of Ranma 1/2. But, just the fact that I had such love for this series, just to have a steaming pile like this just plopped in your lap, it's kind of jarring. It's especially jarring because Ranma 1/2 otherwise is such a good show. Coming up is the part where my wife helped me out. She did the voice of Kasumi here. I purposely told her to say it like a zombie, to say it very monotone. And I think that worked. I think it definitely added to the humor here. Here it comes.
Turn this off. Do something else. It only gets worse from here.
My wife is such a trooper. She really doesn't have to do this stuff. She only does it because she loves me. So don't go trying to hire her for any of your projects out there, because she's really not into it. She likes RANMA and all, but not to the level that I do. Now, a large part of why this took as long as it did was because originally I had all of the vocals done in one day. I did the live action stuff downstairs in my house, and then after I was done with that, I went upstairs with my camera and I recorded all the voiceover. But the thing is, the acoustics upstairs were different from those downstairs, and I made the stupid, boneheaded mistake of recording my lines with the camera faced the other way. So the microphone was faced away from me and my voice came across muffled. So when you switched back and forth between the live action and the voiceover scenes, the audio was completely different, and I couldn't leave it like that. Unfortunately, I couldn't re-record the audio right away, because about then was when I started to get hit with the cold from hell, and my voice started to get really scratchy, and I was very nasally sounding. And directly after that cold, allergy season came, and I was still having ill effects from that. So it's like I had a cold that lasted for like 5 months, and you could still hear it in my voice right now. There was a point where I just said, F it, I'm just gonna bite the bullet and do it cold or not. So the scenes you hear of me screaming, I'm really screaming with like a bleeding throat and coughing up goo the whole time. I really was in a lot of discomfort when I did those voiceovers. If you could see my face, because the second time I did it, of course, I was in front of the camera. I have a lot of footage of me just reading and screaming. You could see that I'm putting my all into these lines, trying to keep from my voice cracking. It was a really tough voiceover session for me, and I realized that it didn't come across near as eloquent as I wanted it to. Mainly because of that reason, because I wanted to get it done. If I got the line, halfway right, and it was serviceable, I used it. I didn't go back and rehash lines until I got it right, like perfectly. There was a long gap where I just kind of decided to stop making videos and say, all right, I'm gonna let myself get better and make sure I can do these in full voice, because I want these to be as good as they can possibly be. But the more I waited, the more I just said to myself, this day is never gonna come. I need to just go right from one thing into another. So I just decided, like I say, to bite the bullet and just do it. Now, coming up is a gag that I was really excited about doing, because it was the first time I ever used my program Anime Studio 8 debut. And it's a little anime program that, you can make little collages of pictures and move them around and animate them to your heart's content. And on the box it says, very easy to use. It is not very easy to use. In fact, I wasted an entire day putzing around with that thing, trying to figure out how to make things move around, and that's all I was able to get done was those 3 little clips. In particular, the one with the monkey standing on the flying buttress, I wanted him to be at least shaking a fist, or get the cat o' nine tails in there, get that thing moving around. But no, all I could do was manage that still picture, and even that still picture took me forever just to figure out how to do. And the scene of the chupacabra on the sauerbraten, just listen to these sentences. The chupacabra on the sauerbraten, it looked awesome when I was finished with it, and for whatever reason, when I plugged it into the video, it looked like crap. It looked like it was a very small video that had been enlarged, and it became very pixelated. But yeah, that's just more problems with Pinnacle Studio. I'm gonna have problems with both, and they're gonna tag team me and practically bludgeon me to death. Here comes the live action shot that I did in front of the green screen, and this just reminds me that this was originally a project that I was going to release later, as a part of a long special that I was going to do after the RANMA Sao Tome profile. because these costumes here that I'm in, I wanted to just kind of release them as a surprise. I didn't want people to know that I had them. But unfortunately, my projects were taking way too long, and I decided that, you know, I had been dormant way too long, and all I'd been really doing was the anime or the manga profiles. So I decided to fire this off early. I have another idea that's going to take this place, this profiles place, when it comes down to that special. But yeah, I mean, things don't always go as planned, I suppose. And speaking of which, I gotta address the horrible sound on this. You know, I still have this, I haven't deleted anything, like any of the files for this program. I still plan on fixing this one day, because the sound really was awful. And usually when this happens, I have a trick. I have an external CD burner. I just burn all the audio from the window player in my my Pinnacle Studio program to a disc, and then I just re-rip the video to the program, and then I just plug that audio into it, and usually it has no problem. You don't hear any hiccups. I did that a lot with the RANMA Sao Tome profile, but lately my external CD burner has been kind of on the fritz. It seems like I have no luck with anything. So yeah, that's not working. And so now I have no idea what I'm gonna do. I mean, I always find a way to get around these things, but who knows what's gonna happen this time. I mean, I might just have to just suck it up and just say, all right, this is fired off, it's in the books, and there's no way I'm fixing the sound. Well, as we approach the final moments of this long-coming project, fans will be happy to know that the final thing I have in the works, I haven't been doing any more writing, is the RANMA Sao Tome profile. So, you know, that will be the next... You hear my dog? My dog is very sick this morning. I don't know what's wrong with her. And she rolled in poo. I gotta bathe her later. Not looking forward to that. I guess I should probably get started. I'm gonna go fix a green screen today. Don't ask. When I get to the Kana and Kotaro profile, I'll explain away that one, rest assured. So this is your good buddy Djclyve, the RANMA 1/2 character profile guy, bidding you adieu once again from the world of RANMA 1/2. I do suppose I should get cracking with today's chores, today's checklist. The day is young and there's so much time and so little to do. Wait a minute, strike that, reverse it. Life is RANMA, guys. Later.